What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Tuesday Track Talk podcast, episode number 7. We are the Three Stones Pit Crew. I am your gas man, Cameron.
I'm your jack man, Kellen.
And I'm your tire changer, Cam.
And on this week's episode, we got big trophies and big checks to discuss. We are going to be talking a lot of championship races, everything from some dirt to the NASCAR series, and then also give a little bit of some late model previews and also discuss the Martinsville. So definitely it's going to be some hot topics to discuss. Some of the stupidest drivers we've ever employed, but you are looking at probably your stupidest pit crew. So this is going to be a good episode. But yeah, how we doing, boys?
We're not too bad. We're battling a little bit of a scratchy throat here. So we're trying to keep the fire in the motor here over here, because it's just sometimes when you talk, you feel like you're not talking. So just trying to keep the voice alive here for the next hour is what it
Your
comes down to.
tires are starting to cord a little bit.
Yeah, we're struggling.
Tires, I think his engine's about to blow if you don't have a voice.
Gonna go down a cylinder here soon.
So, yeah, where it is. I mean, other than that, life's good, but we're just battling a little bit of that sleeping with your mouth wide open.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, other than that, we're good.
I'm basically just recovering from attending a very bad Packer game against the Vikings. Super excited about that, but
yeah,
that season's over.
What can you say? But hey, I mean, we were chatting a little bit during the game last Saturday too. Them Badgers, they showed up a little bit on Saturday.
There's some life. There's some hope. You know, it's doubt. We were down a lot of starters, and we were competitive. It wasn't like it was a 42-10 game. We were there. So there's promise. So
yeah,
missed on some opportunities, but
yeah,
that Badger game was, I think you summed it up, missed on some opportunities, but I don't think that's really getting talked about too, is like it was a 7-point game with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
It was right there.
So it was right there. And like you said, we missed on some opportunities, which is what it is, but we're missing our starting quarterback. Our starting running back didn't play the second half. Braylon Allen, Chimere DK didn't play the second half. So like you said, I'm not about moral victories. It's wins and losses, but if there's a time to take a moral victory, I mean, shit. It's number 3 team in the country. Is a 7-point game with 5 minutes left. So
yeah.
Anyways, and then just another weekend at the racetrack. The boys were banging, so
got that right. Yeah. Lots to discuss. It was a very, very eventful weekend, that's for sure.
Any other one hitters from the weekend?
Oh no, let's get into this. I got some debating to do.
Well, boys, hey, it all comes down to this. Championship weekend coming up. And you boys know we've been working all year, and this pit crew can win or lose a championship. So
ask Truex.
Yep. So
that poor fella. Well, he didn't help himself, but yeah.
So yeah, lock in for this episode. Can win or lose the championship, and it's on us, pit crew. So not too worried about my job. Gas man's pretty easy, but car falling off the jack.
That's me. Me's the one that's the tire changer. I'm the one that can screw some things up.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if you did.
Well,
we'll try to pick you up. We'll try to pick you up. Anyways.
Okay. Just kind of, and we were kind of talking about this last night. Before we get into this, kind of a cool deal that Jeff Storm's got going on with his race program. Looking to get a little help to go down to the Bigley in Florida. He's doing a raffle for one of his doors. It's $20 a spot, I believe.
$20 a spot, but there's only 100 spots.
100 spots. There's 3 prizes: a door off the car, a
I
sweatshirt, and a
believe it's a
t-shirt. So,
t-shirt and a hoodie. Yeah.
yeah, so pretty cool deal. Hey, if you want a chance to win some of this stuff, Jeff, we've been around here a long time racing around
Done
the
a
Midwest.
lot of
So
racing. Yep.
that's a pretty cool little deal. So if you wanna help out an honest, hardworking dude that's putting it in at the racetrack to get it done, he's the guy that check that out. You can his Facebook page. He's also got a YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, he's kind of been sporadically putting out videos, but that's been kind of cool to see. So kind of a plug for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wisconsin guy trying to get down to Florida and do some running down in Florida with the big dogs. So kind of a cool little deal. So
Yeah,
Give that a
for
look.
sure.
Didn't even see that.
yeah. Was that last night you put that out? I think.
Yeah, last night.
5-minute video. Yeah. So he's got that black door
That
with
black
that
25,
yellow
yeah.
25. That's
Yep.
yeah.
Him
pretty
and
cool.
one of the buddies just front end all torn up working on that sucker. And
Yeah.
I didn't look hard enough, but I sure looked to see how many beer cans were sitting around that car because I'm sure there were some beverages taken in that night.
Well, he said it was all cosmetic. It wasn't anything too major, so that's good.
Yep.
But okay, I just
Well-
had to mention that before we get going. So we'll hop back into the NASCAR side of things there.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's get into the old paperclip. Martinsville cutoff. Spot in the final 4 on the line. Where do we want to start? We want to start Xfinity or NASCAR?
And I think we
Well,
go
Yeah, let's do Cup. I think that was going to be a little more straightforward, and I
Yep.
got to feel we're going to go a long time on the Xfinity side.
Yeah. So Martinsville,
Yep.
Ryan Blaney gets the job done.
Let's go.
Yikes.
Let's go.
So Ryan Blaney gets the job done. Locks himself into the final 4. MTJ qualified on the pole. Had a decent car.
He
Ran
was
well.
quick early.
He's quick early.
Yeah.
He had some non-playoff guys that were driving a little. Non-playoff guys that were driving like they were driving for a spot in the final 4, aka Joey Logano. But I guess kick things off. What are your guys' fast thoughts on the Martinsville race?
Physical.
Yeah.
Physical. I mean, them guys were on the wheel, banging doors and banging chrome horns, and they were going at it on Sunday. It was every man was fighting for every position on that track. And boy, was it some good racing too.
Well, and it was pretty cool actually with Goodyear bringing that I believe it was a new tire for that race.
Yeah.
That tire produced some good racing.
Well, it developed the second lane.
Correct. The way it rubbered up the track, it forced the guys to get out of that bottom lane where you couldn't run there because you got the right sides on there and it would shatter the tires, that you had to either straddle it or run through it and hope to God you could make it, where you had to move up a lane. So that was kind of cool to see that tire did exactly what they wanted it to do. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, you had the storyline the whole time was, at one point we're looking at this going, William Byron's going to go a lap down and he's going to get eliminated.
Yeah.
I mean, he was deep there for a long time. It's like at one point I thought he's in trouble, but he hung around enough to do what he needed to do to get through. But man, and then they said that was the longest. What is it? It was like 100 and some laps, that green flag run. It was the longest run in a long time that they've had at Martinsville. I don't remember exactly what the dates were, but it was a long time that was the longest green flag run. So obviously the racing itself was solid enough that you didn't have guys just running each other over to get spots.
Yeah, just dumping each other.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of green flag runs this year. I think it goes into the point of, I think guys, I don't know if, I mean, they got respect for each other, but I think it also goes to, them cars got to get reused multiple times in the year. You gotta you got to bring that car home.
Yeah.
So you can reuse that again. So I think that's got part to do with it too. But going back to the tire in the second lane real quick. I mean, that's especially on a short track, well, any track really. That's what you want to see. You want to see multiple grooves get in a race. So and guys figuring out which line works better for them. And I mean, Christ, look at how many years ago Bristol they had that outside line going. You had guys running the inside and the far wall to make some laps, and that produced some great racing. And I think the same thing happened here.
Yeah, it gave, and Blaney was a prime example of that. It gave guys opportunity to pass in that second lane.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and look, that's what we're always begging for in some of these tracks is that we can get a 2-lane track. In Martinsville is typically a track where it's like
It's a bottom feeders track.
get to the bottom as soon as quick. Green flag drops as soon as you're clear, get down.
Yep.
But no, like you guys said, the tire they brought, I think really helped the racing. And when you got guys that can go on the outside and make some ground, it was awesome. So I think too, that was an elbows up race, and guys racing hard, but for the most part, clean and respectful. And that's all we ask for as fans.
Yeah, and I think it also helped with tire degradation too, where you had the speed throughout the entire run, and some guys could make some strategy calls too. I think Keselowski was one of those guys that tried to take advantage of the not so big fall off on the tire to get some track position there during the race, and ended up having a pretty decent finish out of it then too.
And I'm just not to totally change the subject, but I'm just looking at the top 10 from this last weekend. And from that race, Eric Almirola, big news from him last week that he's stepping away full time. I also read something that said he's stepping away full time, but he's not going to be away from the racetrack long, that he will do part time in some series. I don't know if the credibility of what I read or whatever, but I don't know if you guys saw anything like that. But obviously, big news with him announcing he's done at the end of the year. Has a solid run, so close, goes P2, Denny Hamlin in third, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Larson, Bell, Busher, Cindric, Todd Gilliland. So that was your top 10, and Denny.
my guy. Try again next.
Consistently inconsistent.
Hold on.
I shouldn't say inconsistently inconsistent. He's
finished.
He's steady all year, and he's finished what he's done all year. It's just,
and I was listening to an interview that he had on Sirius XM or from his post race interview. And it was him saying, last week. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Last week, the race at Homestead, having that mechanical failure. I mean, in the round of 8, you cannot have a bad race. Plain and simple.
No,
you just cannot.
You need to finish. You need to finish in the top 15.
If that, maybe top 10.
Bare minimum. Bare
minimum. Yep. I also want to go back. Keselowski finished 33rd, was running good. He had that, I believe it was probably an oil pan was probably what busted on it, because that ball went up into flames there afterwards. But yeah, that one race bit him. It ended up being a must-win situation for him with how the points were running out, and it came back to bite him.
Yeah.
And I think, to that, kind of tying that all together, say what you want about this playoff format, but I think we got down to the 8 best. And
Absolutely.
It produced.
it produced. You got Blaney, Hamlin,
Absolutely.
Larson, Bell, Busher, all in the top 10. So
It produced.
it produced. And off of that, I mean, we've talked about on this podcast too, the emphasis on running well all year and being consistent and winning races. William Byron, for a young guy that's dang near a lap down, a spot in the final 4, who we thought was, for the majority of it, if he would just finish the race, run clean, run well, like,
There was a lock.
Yeah, he was good.
put him in the final 4, which I'm pretty sure we all did.
Yep.
But for him I think he's like 24, 25,
He's 25.
makes me question all my life decisions that were the same age. But for him, I mean, talk about just
He's got a
to his team,
yeah.
the consistency and the trust and the performance of that team to be almost a lap down. Nobody gets rattled. Kudos to that team, because that is not a spot I don't think anybody expected him to be in.
It was maybe a shade of, the Cliff Daniels and Kyle Larson deal, how they're, especially Cliff with him coming in. He's the positive of that team. He rallies all the troops up. It's kind of the same thing there. It was all right. We're not out of it yet. We're only out of it when that checkered flag waves and see what the results are. So they kept fighting it and got out of the hell of a bottle that they were in with that race car and brought her home.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously Blaney gets the win, locks himself into the final 4, sets the stage for the final 4. Truex, Kellen, your champion.
Yep. Speeding penalty killed him. Yep. Speeding penalty compounded with a bad pit stop.
And even then, that pit stop, he actually gained a spot on that pit stop.
Yeah.
I just saw the highlight of that.
Still was not. He was deep.
But that's the theme of his playoff. It's mechanical failure here, tire puncture here, make a mistake here that puts you in the back of the field. I mean, it's just all playoff long. He had something happen during the race that put him in that situation. And at round of 8, again, you can't have a bad race, and it came back to bite him.
True. But
I
do think he's a testament to what the regular season championship will do for you.
Oh yeah.
People are grumbling about him getting that far, but at the end of the day, to be the best car for 26 of the 36 races on average, per se.
Yep. It keeps you alive.
Says a lot about the playoff format. And I do think if you're on average the best car for 26 weeks, you need to have an advantage of some kind.
Yep.
How can you not give them an advantage of some kind? Come on. So,
well, I mean, look at the first year of the stage races or the stage points. I mean, he took advantage of that like it was free money.
no,
Nobody's like, we're gonna run the long race, we're gonna go for wins and all that. And MTJ and
pointed their way
Cole
to a
Pern
title.
like, oh, we're going for stages. If you're gonna give them to us, we'll take them. And look at what it did for him.
And he pointed his way right to a title.
Yep.
So, I mean,
and I think to that, I think in his post-race interview where he said everything in this Cup Series is this.
Oh.
And he said you're from a mistake to winning a race to everybody's getting everything out of their cars. Everything like in this series is like this. And I think to the point of this playoff format, he just said like he had a few things go wrong that aren't major, but when your room for error is this big, there goes his championship hopes. So
What I do have to say
Yeah.
though, and you just kind of alluded to it, they talked to Denny and Truex post race. I was very surprised with the tone. I thought they would have been frustrated. I thought they would have been, yeah, this didn't go well, this and that, and this and that. And it was more so from Denny because I think Truex is happier this year for whatever that reason may be. I was just surprised with Denny's demeanor. He got out of the car and he's like, you know what, we missed it a little bit and
Yep.
we got beat. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be back in the 11. We're going to try to do this again. We're competitive. We were there. We'll be back.
Yep.
So I was kind of surprised for somebody who the conversation swirling. Is Denny ever going to win a title, or is he going to be the greatest to never win a title? Like,
Well, to this day, I mean,
he is. And not only that,
it's that Denny Hamlin cycle runs really well.
Yep.
He's hot. Middle of the season has a little lull. Right before the playoffs, gets hot again. Runs well round of 16, round 8 struggles, doesn't make the Final Four.
and I just lost my train of thought.
But that's the format. I love that format, though.
Yep.
Oh, for Denny, what I was going to say is, this kind of speaks volume to the sport of NASCAR and this playoff format is people look at it, driver going in circles, driving left. But for people that don't understand racing, like the driver's only as good as his team is. And it has to be, not in Denny's case, his team didn't, whatever. But in every other team sport, it's like in football, the Chiefs, it's like, well, you got Patrick Mahomes, like they're going to be a championship contender, no matter what. But in this sport, it's like for Denny, he could get to the round of 8 and so many things that can happen that are out of his control. And there goes your championship hopes. It's like, in football or basketball, you got a superstar that can, sometimes quote unquote, will you to a win.
Mm-hmm.
For poor Denny, it's like he should have a championship, but it's like so many things that can happen that are out of his control that it's like the guy just never gets a break. And it's tough, but
he hasn't helped himself on the racetrack either. He's got guys that are going to race him a little bit harder than they are other people because he's pissed a lot of guys off. And at the end of the day, maybe not pissed them off, but they owe him one yet. And that may cost him a spot or two. And that in turn may cost him a chance to get to the Final Four. So, yeah, Cam, you're absolutely not wrong. And I totally agree with your point that there's a ton out of his control and he never seems to catch a break. But he also's got to help himself too.
Yeah, he's got it's an equal plate of
yeah. When you talk about NASCAR rivalries, it is
Hamlin versus the field.
It's Hamlin and Larson. It's Hamlin and Chastain. It's Hamlin and whoever. Like it's just the 11 seems to stick his nose in there all the time.
He damn near got a Blaney here between last week and this week. He damn near got a Hamlin versus Blaney.
Yep.
So anyways, I just thought that's interesting. People can look at it. It's like, yeah, he never won a championship, but it's like,
yeah, I would totally agree with you.
He is
absolutely.
So many things can happen out of your control that, like in racing, that
I would agree.
People don't even realize, like during the week, you get on the track, you run a couple laps, you get a mechanical failure, you get a tire puncture, you get, stuff like that. And, Martin Truex, I guess would have been a better example, but this playoff format, there just is no room for error.
Yeah. I think
or bad stuff to happen for that matter.
I think the one thing that Hamlin needs, he needs to figure out where Johnson put that golden horseshoe that he had that many years ago. I think that's what Hamlin needs.
And last point I'll make on the Cup Series is, thank God MTJ is coming back for another year, because I would not have won. I want him to go on a Jimmy Johnson final race tour.
Get
How,
get the
you
last
know,
hoorah type of
get the
thing.
last hurrah type
Get
of
like what
thing.
Harvick's got this year.
Yeah. Except run a little bit better than Harvick because yeah. So hopefully Truex will come back next year, and maybe if he does announce before the year, it'll be his last year and he gets the whole last hurrah kind of deal, and he goes on a run and gets himself into the Final Four, because that'd be awesome to see somebody we all like, and we all had put in I'm pretty sure we all put him in our Final Four. But any other final thoughts before we dive into the Xfinity series?
No, good race.
Yeah,
It was good.
good race.
Cut line was obviously moving all the time and solid.
I think again the tires changed the way that race was run, and I hope they bring it back.
Yeah, and I do think again, same as Bristol, I think that needs to continue to be a cut race.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right. This is where we get ready.
Well,
ready
let's I'm gonna kind of intervene here. Let's talk about the race itself first before we get into the storylines that came of it, because that itself was a very good race, especially that finish, which obviously entails some of the storylines with it, but that was another good race in its own right.
No, a lot of shakers and movers. You got a couple spins early that kind of regroup the field again in the middle of the stage that gives guys opportunities to shake on pitch strategy, especially guys who are up front. Then a couple of restarts, you get guys that stay out on old tires in front of the field, and it kind of stacks the field up a little bit. You got guys moving each other to get through the field. So the cautions, I think, when you look at the race, like the cautions came at times that allowed guys to move on strategy, which was it really gave the field a mixed bag of who's on what and where. So that was an invited change, I think, with that race. So yeah, for sure.
That basically that last
Xfinity race, I just watched some highlights, but from what I watched and what Kellen, you were filling me in on, Martinsville's producing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That last caution where you had pretty much the scrap yard in the backstretch there that set the tone for those last handful of laps. Like, okay, everybody had a chance to regroup, and all right, who's going to build up the courage to make some moves when it came down to it? And you had some guys make some moves.
Yeah. So the race itself, I felt like it was good. I mean, there's a caution or two here or there that you probably could have gone without, but the few that we needed that regrouped the field in a timely fashion to allow strategy changes, it made it interesting from a strategy standpoint.
What a hell of a move by Allgaier, though, to go from where he was starting, will take advantage of some guys moving some people out of the way and just sneak his way down on that inside and stay into it.
Yeah, that was even Eddie DeHaan, his spotter, when you could listen to him on the radio. I think he was more excited that they won that race than freaking Allgaier was.
Yes, 100%.
Screaming, he probably jumped off the spotter stand, jumped on the stadium. Like, he was fired up.
Yep.
Yeah, cool for Allgaier. I like Allgaier's.
Oh yeah, one of the good guys of the sport, and
yep, definitely a veteran of the sport, and that's cool for him to make a move to get himself in there without trashing the field.
Yep.
Or anybody, really.
Yeah.
So he was just the recipient of
mayhem in front of him.
Mayhem in front of him, and he just the seas parted, and he just, hey, I'm here. Welcome.
Yep. Also, what a car to be put in victory lane. I mean, that thing was beat up too, even prior to that finish.
We had a rim bend from that lap coming across the start finish line. He got hooked into the fence. Who hooked him?
Oh, was it Sammy?
Maybe. It probably was Sammy Smith. Yeah. who hooked him coming to the finish line. He pounded the wall. I'm like, he's done. It's between the two RCR cars.
Yep.
And the dude, he had no choice but to just drive it off in there and see what happens. But yeah, he pounded the fence hard, and I'm like, eesh. I was expecting him to be done, but
absolutely. I was expecting that tire to go down, or a shock to break or something like that, and him just to shoot right up into the wall in turn one.
Yeah.
So obviously, yeah. Justin Allgaier gets the win. Sheldon Creed P2, Sammy Smith P3, Herbst, Josh Berry is your top 5, Hemrick in 6, and then some other guys finna round out the top 10. But obviously, it's the storylines that came from the race. And the two RCR teammates racing each other. Words were said after the race.
Let's talk about that. Yep.
Yeah. As we should always do with any of our problems, let's just talk about it. So we're gonna sit down and have a nice little fireside chat.
Oh God. Here we go.
So where do we start?
Well, I think we got to start with the move itself.
Let's start with the on track.
Fair or foul?
Fair. I didn't see nothing. He checked up a little bit, but here's my thought on this, and I told Cam this already. My thought is I think he checked him up a little bit early to lessen the blow to send him up the racetrack. So my thought was he was trying to make it a gradual contact rather than a bump and a tire chatter that sent him up the lane. I think he was trying to ease the contact because he knew the contact was coming. So I think he lifted a little early and maybe braked a little bit early to ease the contact, that it was a couple tap, tap, tap instead of a shot and up the track. Now, Dale Jr. It wasn't Jr. Somebody came out and said, one of the analysts came out and said there wasn't, I think it was Jr. that said there wasn't anything blatant that he thought was blatant. So I'm going to side with Jr. and say, you know what? It wasn't anything blatant. I think there was potentially a strategy there to try to protect himself a little bit, but I don't know. That's my thought.
I'm pulling up the replay here. Oh, I got hit with an ad. My thought too was like, especially on the checking up portion of it, a lot of drivers made a comment of, and I mean, they say this all the time. There's oil on the track. It didn't do a good job cleaning this up. I almost thought, because I mean, it was noticeable that there was a lot of stuff on the ground that I think he almost checked up because of the oil. He hit an oil spot, started to slide. He tried to hit brakes just to correct himself. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it here. I mean, all of turn 3 and 4. I mean, there's just a black streak, and I mean, it's probably part rubber, but it's also John Hunter Nemechek was the one that turned Allgaier. There's a big. I mean, it's dirty, for lack of a better term.
So I'd be curious what the S&T data showed, and I should have tried to figure that out.
No,
But
that came out yet, or if anybody really.
But
no one's made a comment on it yet, so I'm going to say it hasn't.
The checking up on it, the checking up. I guess I just don't understand. And maybe I'm missing
what do you mean you
something.
don't understand?
To check up that hard?
So okay, I'm gonna give a little bit of a play-by-play here because I got it up. So on the restart, Hill's on the bottom. He comes in, he dives in hard and door slams Creed, who is running a lane and a half up. Creed jumps in behind him, bump, shoves Hill up the track, which I think was fair. Never touched him in the corner. Running down the front stretch, Hill jumps to the inside. Again, Creed comes in, bump, moves him up the track, doors him a little bit. As they're going down the backstretch, Hill comes down and literally, bam, just door slams him before they go into 3. Creed goes up the track, brake checks a little bit in the middle, and that's when all the mayhem ensued. Like I said, I still think he may hit a bit of an oil patch, but who's to say?
I'm just gonna refresh my memory and watch replay too. But I, from when I watched it,
And a suspension break. I'm good now.
I guess I'm like, it looked noticeably like he did not need to check up that hard.
I think Hill set the tone. I think let's start with that. Hill set the tone with how that race was going to run from there on forward with the
Correct.
restart.
Correct. I would agree.
And he's fighting for a playoff life, a championship life. He's got to win.
So that leads to the latter argument here that we're going to debate in a minute. But
So Hill gives him a little bit of a door, which is fine.
Side note, one of the commentary that was kind of made shortly after the race was Hill should have known the playoff situation, and if he would have just given him the place and gotten second, they would have both advanced. That was wrong. I don't know what the exact playoff scenario was, but it would not have played out as what everybody initially thought.
Thors.
So leave that argument out of there.
Okay.
I'm just watching it, and it. What does he need to be dragging the brake that hard for?
Well, and also, I don't know if how much of it was dragging the brake, but he also had a tire rub. I mean, I bet you a lot of that smoke was probably a tire rub. So
The whole
fair.
The whole banging and bumping. That's as Denny would say, that's short track racing. That I'm fine with that.
I'm also fair. Like I said, I think Hill set the tone on the restart with driving up the hill when Creed gave him a lane and a half to work with. Creed's fighting for a championship spot. I don't think in any scenario there was anything wrong. It's my 2 cents.
I'm totally okay with the bumping and the banging. But it looked the check up like
I'm good with it all.
he couldn't
Game on. I got nothing that says to me that was outrageous. The way he drove,
You're good with a little brake check in the corners?
I don't even know if it was brake check. It could have even been setting the brake to get the car to turn because he was shooting up the track.
I'm good with it.
I'm in the same boat. I'm good with it too.
He throws it like a mini slider to clear him.
Right. As you would at Martinsville.
And then just, as Hill said, just parks it in the corner.
Who's to say Hill didn't gas it up and used Creed to help him turn?
Bingo. Come on, guy. Get with the program here.
When you look at it, though, it just looks like there's a.
Hey, I'm not asking you to make a call on who was in the wrong. I'm just saying make a goddamn decision.
He's picking Hill.
Well, look, I'm okay with the banging and everything beforehand, because that's Martinsville and that's short track.
So I think we're all in agreement. Everything's good up until the final corner coming to the checkered.
The part I don't understand is that brake check. I don't understand that. Like he does that little slider, gets up there and like noticeably parks it.
All holds are off though. How can you tell him go ahead and let the 21 win because the 21 wants to run for championship? How do you tell him that though?
No, I'm not saying let the 21 win or whatever.
Okay.
I'm strictly saying I don't think he needed to smash the brake nearly as hard as he did.
But I also don't think Hill gave him an opportunity to make that corner either. Because I mean, he came down and door slammed him halfway down the backstretch. Yeah, 3/4 way down the backstretch. So Hill was going, or Creed was going in straight to start off with. He couldn't get the arc that he wanted. I mean, we're gonna sit here and debate all day about who.
In typical Creed fashion, driving over his head.
Stop. Get out of here.
I don't know. I
Like it seems like we've got ourselves an Austin Hill fan in the house.
well, I'm just not I'm not.
Mm.
I'm okay with like everything. I'm okay with, but it is literally like I just did not think he needed to break that hard, as hard as he did. That
Again, who's to say that he hit the brake, and who's to say that Hill gassed up the turn? Again, that smoke. I mean, damn near could have been a tire rub too.
you're telling me when you watch that replay from like the sky view, you're telling me that Hill gassed it up that much that he ran into the back end of him.
I didn't have the sky view. I was looking at the track view.
Yeah, watch the sky view, and then let's have this discussion.
Now I gotta find it. Well, anyways, let's
I'm
keep
ready.
the conversation going here.
I'm ready for the next debate because the on track part, to me, game on.
Yep, I think we've spoken our piece with that.
I'm ready for the post race shit. This is what I'm here for.
Oh, let's get into the post race stuff. Obviously, I think it was Andy Petrie. Like, was he like?
Yep.
I think he's raced.
He's competition director at RCR.
So he comes up, doesn't say much to Creed, but says something. Creed.
Oh, he said a lot to Creed. He made it very clear his stance on the whole situation. Nobody heard what was said. I couldn't tell what was said on the video, but he made it very clear what his opinion was based on his body language.
Correct. It was a walk up, speak my mind, and walk away.
He wasn't,
but he didn't. He didn't. It was he walked up to him, said his piece, and walked away. He didn't.
Right.
It wasn't even 30 seconds. It was.
There was no listening. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Creed,
so
you hear Creed shout, if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't say shit. So you can pretty much tell what that argument was about.
Yep.
And then we get into RCR himself saying he's had a lot of stupid drivers drive for him, but Creed might be the stupidest ever.
I mean, it's a bad look all around.
RCR made an ass of himself, in my opinion. At the end of the day,
as an owner and as an owner and go ahead.
Right. So he gets in, Creed gets in. What is the tone like? How do you not celebrate getting a car in the final four? Are you going to say
that?
No.
When did he say that in the race?
It was post race. It was post race.
RCR said in post race interviews.
Correct. And they interviewed him after it was all said and done.
So to your point, RCR
Creed gets in. Does Richard Childress say, you know what, we're just happy to have a car in, and I'm glad Sheldon could get it in. Obviously, we've announced he hasn't coming back. He's not coming back. But we're glad he could get in his last season with us, and we're happy to have
hope the end of year off with a bang.
The wheel in two in the final four, and we're gonna go run for a championship. But instead, we're 0 for 2, and now, to put it bluntly, he's got a dumbass driving for him. Is what it comes down to, is what he said. So, I think I think RCR was or Richard Childress was his biggest enemy himself in that moment. Like, he obviously played his favor with Hill. It's evident now. Obviously, Hill has announced where Creed is going, which
I think that's a bad move too.
that's a shot below the belt. That's not fair.
Yeah.
He should have kept his mouth shut and said, "I'm happy for him to go on to his next opportunity." Got it. Let the dude announce it himself, no matter how bad you hate the guy. But at the end of the day,
You don't want anybody spoiling your news. You don't go spoiling others.
I think RC made RC did not help himself. I don't like it.
And like my standpoint is like for both RC and for Andy Peachtree in being high level positions on the team,
Yeah.
like you said, you don't play favorites, you don't pick sides, you every driver's got the same support throughout, even if they're leaving. It's
You're racing for a championship. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're shaking your head. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go against the grain. First off, is what RCR said okay and a good look? Not at all. He said what he said with one caveat. The emotions were extremely high. And I think it went from they were in a spot to potentially have 2 cars in the Final Four to 0. And that is where I think this all stems. Is that I don't think he's playing favorites, but it's a heat of the moment. It's teammates racing. And regardless of Creed, regardless of where Creed's going next year, whatever, I think RCR would have been thrilled after the race had he had 1 car in, even if it was Creed.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And so with all this, not a good look on RCR's part. And, whatever. But it's just so heat of the moment of we went from having a chance of having 2 cars in there racing for the lead to 2 teammates because of somebody, because of a move one of your drivers made, 0.
So I think that's where, and he maybe just doesn't give a rat's ass, if we're gonna be honest. Maybe he doesn't care. But I think that's where when you're pissed off and you're fired up, you maybe need to say, you know what, I have no comment at this time. I need to rewatch it again.
I got a good example.
And my whole point is we all get fired up and we all say stuff that we want to take back. And we're not talking about racing for $100 or, whatever. So was it right of him to say that? No. But in the moment, I understand it because just the circumstances they were under, a chance to have 2 cars in the championship, and they went from 2 to 0. And it was because of Creed's move that they have 0. So
My example that I have is the Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano situation at Martinsville, where Kenseth blatantly dumps Logano. I mean, you want to talk about as blatant as it gets.
You whined about it. Yeah.
Roger Penske comes on the radio and says, "We're not discussing this with anybody. This is done and over with. We're moving on."
He even told Logano to stay in the car.
It's on Radioactive if you want to look it up. He comes in and said, we're not discussing this any farther. We're going to handle this internally. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's a team owner looking out for his team.
Protecting his team.
Mm-hmm.
And his driver.
And and you want to talk about a heat in the moment. That's right in the heat of the moment too. Race is still going on. Your cartridge got dumped. championship, goodbye.
Leading the race in that.
Leading the race. Yep. In the same scenario, win and you're in. Goodbye.
Yep. I don't know. I don't like it by RC. I don't like it.
It's
think-
not a good look all around.
No. That's your top two guys that have obviously taken a side. And you're not going to defend Creed in any sense of saying you have a chance to run for championship. He's literally trying to run for championship, and they blatantly said, "Nah, we don't want you to win it." So I don't know.
Again, they're not saying that. They're insinuating because of the move Creed made, now we have nobody that has a chance at winning the championship. I don't think they're picking favorites at all. They are strictly pissed because the move that Creed made took out both of their cars, and now nobody's in the championship.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
Austin,
they're favorites.
sure. I agree with you on the favoritism side of part, absolutely. But he was beating Ben Fenders too. How's it? What's his scenario that gets him out of it?
To settle it, we don't know what the counter side is going to be like. We don't know. We will never know what it would be like if it was the other way around, where Hill runs Creed over, or Creed runs Hill over. Either way, and one of the two gets in, they both get in. We don't know. Now, if Creed gets in, and we just don't know what that looks like, we can only dream, pretend, figure out, try to think, but we don't know what it's like. So it's hard to say, but
And I don't think I don't think there's an issue with the beating and the banging.
no,
And
it's not. It's not the racing.
Heat of the moment, you watch that replay, and at first glance, when you watch the replay, you look at it and you're like, why did he just brake check? And I'm not saying what they said or did was okay, but I'm saying heat of the moment, it looked, and I still think it looks like a brake check. And I think it's the last corner that obviously set it all off. The beating and the banging up until that point is fine, I think. But I think it's
and I agree.
I think for RC and Petrie, it's that last corner move that he made that took both cars out of the race, or took Hill out and took them both out of the championship contention, is where this is all stemming from.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but we just don't know what the latter part of that conversation will be, where if they had a car get in,
if the roles were reversed.
Roles reversed, or Creed's the hero for not running Hill over, or Hill's the hero for not running Creed over, and they got a car in, and we just don't know what that conversation looks like. I just don't.
If comments were going to be made, it should have been made in-house and left at that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It should have been there would have been 4 people in the room: RC, Andy Petrie, Austin Hill, and Sheldon Creed. It would have been a 4-person meeting. No phones, no microphones, no nobody. Words are going to be said, and it stays in that room.
Yeah, I'd agree. And that's why sometimes you got to take the 24-hour approach too, and just be like, all right, I need a day to take the emotion out of it. I'll comment on it on Monday afternoon.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Well, we could sit here and talk about it all night and still not get to a conclusion. So any other final thoughts on that before we start pivoting to the next conversation?
Go to racing at Martinsville, produces storylines both with the race itself and the playoffs. What more could you want?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna grab a couple cough drops real quick. I'll be right back. Just give me 10 seconds.
I don't, Cam. What's your thought?
Yeah. I think I've said my piece on the RC move, but yeah, I love the Martinsville track being a cutoff, the storylines it produces, the racing, fantastic. a lot on the line, guys racing hard. I loved it. So
Must see TV.
literally. So yeah, good racing. I like the spot that Martinsville's at, being a cutoff race. And yeah, love it. So
I'm just
Well-
checking the schedule for next year too. It is still the cutoff race as well. So
perfect. Yeah. Well, the old
Yeah.
Jackman's back, so
Just
we're gonna
had
get
a
into
little more fire in the pipes. We're good now.
we're gonna get into the second discussion we got, and we are gonna be discussing briefly, just chatting about ASA National Championship. It's
Yeah.
coming down to Majeski and Butcher coming into the final weeks or final race here. Good entry list, some big names on there. I guess, what are you guys looking at in this race? What are some of the headlines you guys are going to be paying attention to?
well, you bring up a good point. I should actually bring the entry list up for this race because, again, like you said, there are a lot of names on that list. It just keeps getting better.
I mean,
Fredrickson, Nason, Fenhouse, Sauter, Gady, Hine, Pollard, Nassie, Ruggiero.
Derek Thorne driving Paulie Schaefer's stuff. Jeremy Doss. Yeah. Yeah,
I
dude,
was
it's a wild list.
I was surprised by Fredrickson.
Yep.
She's actually not on here.
Ty Fredrickson, that is. Let's just be clear on that. It's Ty, not
Yes,
Dan.
correct. The old
Yep.
the kid.
Yep.
He's not on the list, but he's said to be there. And Jacob Gady, that was one that really surprised me, at least from the Midwest guys that are making an appearance for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Uh,
Minnesota guy, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was
yeah.
national champ handful of years ago in the NASCAR Weekly Series.
Yep. Yeah. I was kind of surprised. He's but I guess yes and no, because he likes lacrosse, and I feel like that could be somewhat of a similar ish type.
Yeah, it's got a little more banking, but yeah.
Yeah. Little bigger track per se. But no, I mean the entry list just to get
It's
started, the entry
stacked.
list is solid. So
I see Ty Fredrickson. He's car number 5.
so who's he running for?
That's what I don't know. Because he's still got all of his regular sponsorships that he would have had. So
So he must be gonna run for somebody for the owners.
could be.
Yes or no? Is Majeski your champion?
God damn it.
See, I don't want to talk about that yet. There's still a good amount of race with that.
So here's my thing. We talk about storylines with this race. There are points handed out left and right. It's kind of like
Yes.
a cup race. You got points for qualifying. You got points at stage breaks. There's so many points to be dealt.
They have hard charger points.
Correct. So there's so many points to hand out. But you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Butcher's going to win it. Majeski is kind of untested right now. He's got it. He's got the car he blew up.
He's on a bad streak with cars right now.
Correct. Mechanically, he's on a tough streak. So I'm going to say Butcher is more inclined to win it based on being in a tested car.
Give me a minute here. I'm trying to see if I can find last year's race.
Nassie won it.
Yeah, I know Nassie won it.
But that's where I'm going to take Butcher on the tested territory where Majeski's showing up potentially untested per se. Knowing he's got to go run the truck race on Friday night.
Well, he would be, yeah,
Hmm.
he'd be running the truck race, but that race would be done already.
Right, but I'm just saying that's another day or two that doesn't allow him to go test that car
True.
somewhere along the way or
Doesn't
testing it
need to.
this week.
Doesn't need to.
Do you think he's going to win the title?
Yeah, he's gonna roll off the trailer and he's gonna have that thing dialed in.
He did with Heinz stuff too, and then he blew up. I, I'm gonna. I want the Wisconsin guy to win it, but I think I'm gonna take Butcher. Butcher's gonna struggle in practice. He's not gonna qualify well, but I think he's gonna race well. Unfortunately,
Butcher's a Donnie Wilson guy, isn't he?
Yes.
correct. Yep.
You got those hauler tires changed or no?
Jesus.
A little early for that, but yeah, I would hope so.
I hope he makes it there.
Probably still testing at Winchester then.
There we go. God damn it. All right. So
He's still in the infield.
They're working on that yet.
Majeski didn't run this race last year.
No.
Just an FYI.
You can get it on Jack.
Let's see. Where the hell?
We're gonna need more than just that race car
Even
jack to
injured.
pick that thing off the ground.
Our tire changer is at Menards.
I don't even see Cole Butcher on this list, so he didn't even. Oh, there he is. He's 14th. He was 14th last year in this race.
Okay, so he has some experience running the race, but
Correct.
I think due to the untested nature of Majeski and the unfortunate turn of events, which could mean absolutely nothing to Sunday, I'm gonna take. Unfortunately, I'm gonna take Butcher. I think.
Cam, you're taking Butcher as well.
No, I said Majeski's
Oh,
gonna
you're
roll.
taking Majeski. My bad. Well, I'm taking Majeski as well. I am rooting for the Wisconsin boy, and as we've said before, I get analysis by paralysis, so I'm going to go with more of the heart. My heart is with Majeski on this one. I want him to win.
Yeah.
As far as the race goes, though, a guy I'm keeping an eye on though is Matt Craig. He can come in and he can run some really good races when it comes down to it. So I am keeping an eye on him this weekend.
Hey,
I think something that's going to be interesting is Derek Thorne
Driving Schaefer's
getting
equipment,
him in,
absolutely.
getting him in Schaefer's equipment. Where did he have a solid run last in Schaefer's equipment?
I thought it was Madison.
Did they run 5 flags? No, because dude, Paulie Schaefer ran Madison. We were there.
That's right. Yes, because they were going to be doing the
Because he went
owners
quick
championship.
time. He literally went quick time, and
That's right.
Just went wild.
You are correct.
So I think he must have ran 5 flags and Schaefer stuff.
Let's see.
I think you're
It
right.
had to have been because yes, he ran 5 flags, was running good, and then he had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
He had an accident. That's what it was. So yes, it was 5 flags that he was running really good.
You know who I'm going to keep an eye on? The 5 of Johnny Sauter.
I'm gonna regret saying this, but I can't wait to see what he breaks this time.
If he can keep the axles in the rear end, the dude's gonna have that thing whipped up and it's gonna be ready to go.
I mean, honestly, and again,
He's
stick
gonna
with the
be
Midwest
fast.
theme. I'm looking at Austin.
Be fast.
He will be. I'm also looking at Austin Nason. He was winning. He was in contention to win that race up until that wreck that happened last year. Which again, never seen a super late model almost blow over, but god damn it, Austin Nason almost did it. Bubba Pollard's coming back again, see what he can do. Stephen Nasse, the defending winner, you see what he can do. Again, it's going to be a good race. I was looking up our pal over at Super Late Model Rankings. Good follow on Twitter if you're looking for a guy to follow on super late models. He said 2 days ago, so he didn't get the most recent entry list update, but he said it's the 12th highest strength of field for 2023.
Okay. I don't know if this fellow listens, but we got to have him on. We got to get him on here.
Shoot the old DM, see what can happen. again, it's a good follow. Super late model rankings if you're looking for a follow. Gives a ton of good information.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah,
I would feel
I saw old Johnny at the wedding I went to a couple weeks ago.
yep.
Just seeing him, it's like you just walk by him and you're like, you are a certified badass. And then wanted no part of the wedding. He stood outside the entire time by the bathrooms. But when you go to the bathroom, be like, just want to ask him, like, hey, you gonna finish one of these races?
Yikes.
Dude, you got a rocket ship everywhere. But we got to keep this thing together for the whole thing.
Keep the axles in the thing. Oh,
This kid was there wearing racing stuff too. So, but yeah, that was funny. But no, this will be a dang good race. And looking at the entry list too, like you said, some big names. Majeski's got a chance at both championships, driver and owners. So
the Midwest is well represented, and
Absolutely.
they will show up in full force. I mean, Fenhouse ran well last year. He just got DQ'd.
Also, Sommers and Fenhouse were front row last year.
Sommers is going down there. Look out for him. Got the new car going on there.
With that new car. She's
Yeah.
slick. She's fast.
We got the Midwest is going to show up, and we're gonna show the boys that
Midwest is best.
Midwest has got some solid super late model racing.
Yep. So we got Kel as Butcher as your champ, Cam as Majeski, and myself as Majeski as our champs. We'll maybe cover race picks just because it's probably one of those races that the winner may not be the champ, but we'll cover that here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
any other final thoughts on the big ASA race?
Keep an eye on her. She's going to be good.
Yeah, it'd be solid. For sure.
Well, let's get into our final discussion. We got the Cars Tour Championship this weekend as well. Some big names in there. Going to, I believe, Caraway Speedway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, another series that's been solid all year. What are we looking at for this Cars race? Obviously, we got some big names in there. Carson Quapple is the leader. He's got 5 wins. Got Butterbean Queen.
19 back, 3 wins.
He's got 3 wins. Mason Diaz, he's got 1 win. He's 95 back. Millington, McCarty. I guess as you guys look at this cars race here at Caraway this weekend, what are your guys' fast thoughts on this race?
I think it's Carson's to lose. Honestly,
he's just got to keep himself out of trouble. Yeah, he'll go back to back.
He needs to stay within a position or two of Queen, but I still think it's Carson's race to lose. He's had the dominant call all year. Obviously, he's your champ last year. He's looking to go back to back this year. You know, there's a lot of rumors going around of is he going to make the next step up. And I mean, I think it's proved it too. He's run a lot of good races, and obviously Junior, he's got a lot of good equipment over there at Junior Motorsports. Takes a lot of pride in that super late model topic or series. And yeah, again, I think it's Carson's to lose, but again, it's going to be another good race with a lot of good names in it.
Yeah, I would expect Carson to handle business as usual, and he finds a way to keep his nose clean and just finish the race and stay up front and get that deal done. So
he's been solid all year too.
Yeah, 5 wins.
Kind of a shoestring Wisconsin guy.
Old man's from Wisconsin. He's run a handful of races
he's from
up here.
Mooresville, but he may have been born in Mooresville, but the old man is a Wisconsin guy.
Yep.
So kind of.
Carson's run a handful of races up here too to get his feet wet. If I remember correctly, he actually started his late model career up in Wisconsin running that 35 car.
Midwest Tour. He did, yep.
Before he jumped down to the Cars Tour.
Yep, he won. He won, I believe it was the last Midwest Tour race at Golden Sands, because that was the night that he was going to try to break Derek Krause's record for youngest winner on the Midwest Tour. And he didn't, but he was like a month or two off.
Sure.
But he won that feature at Golden Sands. That would have been in 2019, I believe. But he ran that feature at Golden Sands, and actually Krause led some laps there, and he was quick, led some laps and with that race, but Carson ended up winning that feature. But yeah, he ran some races up here earlier in that 35 for sure.
Yep.
So
And I think news just recently, I think maybe it was last week. I think Butterbean Queen, I think he announced that he's back with the same team, going to chase the championship again next year in the Cars Tour. So he's been he's an interesting cat. Almost anytime he gets behind the microphone, it's always like, yep, this is going to be good. So good to see. He's had a solid year too. Consistent running up front, and obviously he's got a couple wins under his belt. So yeah, that is going to be another solid race.
Hitting on the pro late models real quick too, because they're running. Brother to Carson, Caden Clawfall's looking to wrap up his season, get the championship there with Katie Henninger getting her suspension. Carson's pretty much got the season wrapped up over there. Just basically he's got to take the green flag, and barring any circumstances of finishing last, has got the championship wrapped up over there. So you could potentially see brothers sweep the Cars Tour this year.
Yeah. Same team that Fenhouse won the pro late model tour with last year.
Last year, correct. Yep.
So pretty cool deal there as well.
So again, if you that's going to be on Flow Racing, one of our favorite streaming channels as far as races go. So if you have Flow Racing, this is going to be one that you're going to want to watch as well.
Yep.
This kind of ends up being one, maybe not this weekend, but this is another one of those. Hey, this is well worth the subscription to Flow Racing.
Absolutely.
So no, again, keep an eye on that Cars Tour run by Junior, Jeff Burton, Justin Marks, and Kevin Harvick.
Yep.
Got a lot of big names. Looking forward to the future of that series too, and seeing what them guys can do with that.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, any other final thoughts?
No, it'll be some solid weekend there for the Cars Tour as well. I'll get to crown a couple champs.
Yeah, just again, a lot of good, solid late model races going around the country this year or this weekend.
For sure. And obviously we didn't do a super deep dive into those races, but obviously we want to give those series some love on championship weekend coming up here, and obviously a race that we've all watched but not maybe kept up on as closely as we should have. But obviously we want to give we love our late model racing, so give them some love before we get into the next segue, which is typically race previews. Obviously at the end of each episode, each one of the old pit crew picks a race they're interested in watching or they're going to watch this coming weekend, and gives you a little preview of what their fast thoughts are. But considering the weekend we got ahead of us, we're diving into this and probably going to go a little bit longer than we usually do, because we are racing for big trophies and big checks. Championships all across the board.
Yep.
So we're going to kick this thing off, and we're going to start on the dirt. Huge weekend at Charlotte.
Starts tonight.
They're qualifying as we speak, actually.
It's Wednesday night. We're recording on Wednesday night. They're qualifying tonight. doing some racing tonight. So gives the guys a full weekend to get those things tuned up right for that race. So that's both the super late models and the wing sprints, both for the World of Outlaws. So
And anybody that's a supercar modified fan, they also got the modifieds out there this weekend as well. The supercars, I believe.
And I was looking as I was looking at this and this weekend that they got coming up here, the racing. I'm just throwing it out there that's a bucket list weekend.
big time.
To have both those series there.
They got 71 super late models checked in this weekend.
It's a stat field.
Hey, the World of Outlaws, or not World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil's done, so all the Lucas Oil guys are running there now.
Yep.
And
so
you
yeah,
I'm adding that to my bucket list actually as we speak.
Perfect.
Yep, that would be let's get the old pit crew. Let's get the old pit crew down there for some awesome racing, both series, like you said, in one spot, racing for big checks and big trophies. But kicking things off, we'll start with the World of Outlaws late model side of things. And obviously, well, not obviously, but there ain't a whole lot to touch on.
It's pretty well wrapped up.
From the championship side of things, for those boys, because as RTJ had unworldly year, so did the Jackman sweatshirt BP Bobby Pierce. So he's got that thing just about all but wrapped up. He's got to basically take the green flag and make a lap, and it's his.
Yeah, for sure.
Not to discredit the racing, they're still going to be racing for the weekend championship, but for that series and that series championship, not a whole lot to cover there. Bobby's basically got it wrapped up. Chris Madden and Ryan Gustin both have 3 wins, but that's not to say the racing there is going to be incredible. Obviously, we alluded to already, 71 late models checked in. Lucas Oil wrapped up last weekend.
74.
It's growing.
3 cars matter.
Yep. A lot of those Lucas Oil guys are done last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, go race for big money.
Yep. Yeah, so our season just wrapped up. Yeah, season's well. Clean her up, boys. We're going to Charlotte. We're going to race with the World Outlaws. So, obviously got some big names there, and honestly, kind of a prelude to next year, because a lot of this, silly season that we've kind of had going on, a lot of these guys are shaking down their cars with new teams already,
and they're showing up fast.
Mm-hmm.
You got Mikey Marler going quickest in his group in qualifying with Skyline Motorsports in the 157.
Mikey just announced this week that he's going to Skyline, and they didn't directly say it, but from what it sounds like Shane Clanton's going to be out. Haven't had an official word, but from the statement I read from Skyline,
they thanked Clanton and Castle race cars, which they're not with Castle anymore. So that makes it pretty evident what's going on there.
So you got him, Mikey Marler making his debut. You also got Big Hughes, Spencer
Hughes, and he was quickest in his group in hot lap. So he was quickest in his group in hot laps. So that was with it's JCM Motorsports at that 19, the black and orange and white 19. So we're getting a look into next year, and some of these guys really aren't missing a beat, and they're ready to go. So that's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah. So obviously those guys are going to be good track, big track, a lot of lanes to run. Never faster on the World Outlaws game there when I'm playing.
Usually good for about a P17.
Yeah. So, no, that'll be a big weekend. Obviously, you got some big names: Ricky Thornton Jr., Jonathan Davenport,
Scotty Bloomquist, the
Bloomer's
Bloomer's
Hudson
back.
O'Neal.
Which, by the way, so they ran 2 qualifying sessions for today. They had a separate qualifying session for Thursday. They had a separate qualifying feature or session for Friday. And in Friday's qualifying session, at least in Group A, old Bloomquist was top of the chart.
The dude,
Some things never change.
yeah, that would be his Bloomquist race car. The dude just knows his race car and knows what he needs to do, and he's there. The old zero with it's not really a skull on the side, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's got that foggy, it's got the Halloween kind of feel to it, you know?
Keep a conversation. I gotta get some more water quick.
Yeah,
I'm talking too much.
But no, I mean, honestly, it's good to see Bloomquist back in a race car though.
Yeah.
After some of his
health issues going on.
Health issues that he had going on there, but it's good to see him back. And I wish we could have got to see him run with Lucas Oil for the championship weekend, but that track was
sure
rough.
Yeah.
But no, good to see him back. That's a solid weekend race, and you got a lot of really good race cars and a sweet track.
Yeah, for sure.
No, if you haven't seen that, if you go look at that on Twitter, Mikey Marlar's new ride there, that 157, that black.
Yeah, I saw that.
Candy apple red is pretty solid. Another interesting note, you have Tanner English, who made a chassis change. They're going with BMF race cars for next year. So they shook down and they're going to debut a new race car this year. So they're getting an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet with what they're going to be working with for next year. So I would expect him. He's always been a World of Outlaws guy, so I'd expect him to run with the World of Outlaws next year. So he's taking an opportunity to get his feet wet with that new race car. That Corey Hedgecock, his team, they build those BMF race cars. So pretty cool little deal there for him to get to shake down that new race car. So pretty solid deal there as well. So
otherwise got the World of Outlaws spreads going this weekend as well. You do have a championship battle going there, and it's the same 2 horse races we had last year. You got Brad Sweet and David Gravel going at it. Sweet's got 10 wins over 68 starts this year. David Gravel's got 11 wins over 69 starts. Gravel is currently backed by 50 points. And I put in here, first is the point system that goes with this. First is 150 points. Second is 146. Third's 144. And anybody that doesn't start the last chance showdown gets 90 points. So this is another one of those that you're going to have to pay attention all weekend and all race long, because that points battle is going to change drastically.
Yeah, sure.
And I like that format, actually. Like I feel like it kind of.
You got to be there all weekend.
Yeah.
You got to be on your game all weekend.
It helps level it off from, a one night, one hit wonder. It gives guys that, maybe have a mechanical failure or some stuff like that. Like
a little bit of a chance.
It gives them a fighting chance. It's not like, hey, something goes wrong on Wednesday or Thursday night, weekend's over. No,
yeah.
we got 2 more nights to ramp it up and dial it up. So, yeah, it's the wing sprints is something that I've really started to this past year enjoy, because when those boys get going, that is
some prime racing.
That is some prime racing.
I do think so. We've as a crew this year, we've gotten to some super late races. We've gotten to some dirt late model races. I think we got to get to a wing sprint race next year.
Yep.
And they visit Wisconsin enough. If you keep track of their schedule, they visit Wisconsin enough. I think next year that's got to be next summer. I mean, they come up to Beaver Dam. That's for me. That's an hour and 40 minutes or something. So they're
Yep.
in the neighborhood. I think that's got to be Cedar Lake's another one they visit.
Yep. There's one more, and I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember where else they go.
Wilmot.
Wilmot. There you go.
Yep. So I think we're gonna get the wing sprints next year.
For
That'd
sure.
be a sweet one.
Well, we could just solve the issue and just do all three this year again, or next year again.
I would think so. But yeah, I think we covered them all. We've been keeping track, and we haven't really covered them on the podcast lately, but we've been keeping an eye on them. They're on our race schedule. Same with All-Star Circuit of Champs.
But we've done a lot of 410s, just not necessarily World of Outlaws, especially with the high limits and All-Star Circuit of Champs. And
and it's kind of all going to all bleed together starting next year. So
yeah. So no, that's going to be a good battle. If you're curious, Logan Schuhart and Donnie Schatz were your winners last year there. Donnie Schatz actually won 2 of the 3 nights that were there. So he's looking to have another good outing there.
Heavy vet.
Yep. On the late model side, Mike Malar, if I'm saying it right. Tanner English and Davenport were your winners last year in the late model side.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously that's on the dirt side. Huge weekend for those guys, late model and sprint. It's gonna be fun to see who comes out on the top of that. Definitely probably gonna be a topic of discussion next weekend, because there's gonna be some storylines coming out of there that weekend. Or this weekend. So any other final thoughts at the action pack weekend at Charlotte on the dirt side?
That race is going to be on Dirt Vision TV. So if you got a subscription to that, that's also well worth it. They also have some other local weekly racing on there. So it's not just World of Outlaws, always another good tune in as far as racing you can get around the country.
Jackman, any other final thoughts?
No, it's gonna be solid. You got to be there all weekend. You got to show up and be good all weekend. So, gives the guys a chance to do a little shakedown, depending on where you're at with your car and what you're bringing and where you're at. So
it's a good way to end the year off.
Yeah, yep. You're at one track. You can unload on Wednesday, and the boys are gonna have at her until Saturday night.
Everybody's there, and
really good car count.
Yeah, I think if I counted right, I think sprint cars are going to have about 55 for those races too. So
yeah, you're probably looking at between 55, 74. You're probably looking at 200 cars in the pits.
That's just between World Outlaws.
Yep. So pretty cool deal.
Yeah. So obviously there's big trophies and big checks that will be crowning on the dirt side. Again, it's going to be good racing, but we're that time of year that's kind of sad. That we're kind of wrapping up all these series. So, especially dirt late models, hate to see that wrap up for about a month before we go to the dome. But yeah, that'll be an awesome weekend. Charlotte puts on a good show. So getting into the final race previews. NASCAR Truck Series Xfinity Cup going out west. And this is not a 3-day show like the Dirt Boys. You've got a 1-night show.
Far from it. You bet.
So obviously championship weekend for all 3 NASCAR series going out west. We're going to Phoenix. Truck Series Friday night, Xfinity Saturday, Cup Sunday afternoon. Where do we want to start?
Let's start our way up. Let's start with the trucks.
Right away. Let's dive right in. So Truck Series. They were not at Martinsville last weekend. Their last race was, why am I drawing a blank?
Homestead.
Homestead. So we got 4 guys that are locked in to the championship 4. Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Ben Rhodes, Grant, and Finger. Where do we want to start?
Side note. Yep. So side note, we were talking about this just before we fired up the podcast. The Truck Series has not run at Phoenix yet this year. So this is their one and only visit to the racetrack. So kind of an interesting dynamic to go with that you got to go back a year for data on this specific track. So
if you want to have a comparison, we were kind of mentioning it too. Richmond was kind of that comparison track.
Yeah.
That we were going with Phoenix. They did race there earlier this year. You had Hocevar ended up winning that race. Corey Heim was 6th. Grant Infinger was 9th, and Ben Rhodes was 12th in that race.
Oh yeah, that Richmond race. Yeah, that was the race when Jeske was leaking air out of his tires.
I think Noodleman got in them tires.
I'm kidding. So yeah, I guess any thoughts, or we jumping right into debating our picks?
let's just pick them. Let's just go for it. We got nothing to work on.
So how do we want to do this? Because we got 3 series. We're all picking a champion.
I think it's got to be a snake. I think.
Well, how about this?
I didn't get that.
Oh,
Could you try again?
nope, I can't try again. What if we do this? Our fantasy. What if we did the winner from last weekend,
With me.
Kellen? You get to pick your series, and then you get to pick first.
Oh, yeah. So I'll pick first now.
So you pick what series you want. Well, if you want to
starting with trucks.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the truck. So I'll pick first.
but I'm saying, no, I'm saying if Kellen, if you want to pick, because how are we going to snake this?
Well, it'd go.
Really, it really should be he goes last in his first one. And then he goes first in Xfinity and then last in Cup.
All right.
It's really how it should go. So who? I was
No.
second, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
get second pick regardless.
Okay, well, if we're picking trucks right away and I get first pick, are we on
No,
that?
I do.
Yep. No, Kellen gets because Kellen was the winner. He gets last pick.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we do snake. Loser, second. You get third pick. Xfinity, you'll get first pick. We'll snake it. Got
Yep.
it?
Yeah. Snake
Okay.
track. That's exactly what I said.
Yep, snake draft. So first pick, no doubter, Ben Rhodes.
All right.
Wow.
Hey, if he wins, that'll be a hell of a press conference again.
Yep, that's why we're picking him.
Good call. I like the pick. Yep.
Yes, that is a good pick. Oh boy, I don't know.
Am I allowed to pick a duplicate?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Boy, I don't know. I got a feeling I know who you're going to go with. I don't know how confident I am in that pick. I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with Corey Heim.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Heim time.
All right. I'm going to go with the program that they're going to end it with the best of the best. I'm going to take Enfinger.
Ooh.
GMS shutting down at the end of the year. They're going to show up with a rocket ship. These boys are going to pour their hearts into that truck and they're going to get it done.
They're going to go out on top.
Yep.
All right. I didn't think you were going to go that route, but.
Yep. That's who I'm taking. I'm going to take Enfinger. I think the veteran's going to get it done. So, well, should we go ahead and jump ahead? Go ahead.
Can I maybe change my pick?
Sure.
You're going to go with Hocevar, aren't you?
Nope. Race winner, I'm picking Derek Kraus, but to win the championship, I got Ben Rhodes. But no, obviously we're Kraus homers. He's pulling double duty this weekend. He's in the Spire 77. So gonna be pumped to see him back. Hopefully he has another solid run. Give him some momentum heading into the off season. Hopefully we get some full-time ride news for next year. Hopefully we get that announced here. But no, I thought I'd throw that in there, give him some love. So he's racing this weekend in the Spire 77, but would love to see him get a win, but Ben Rhodes for the championship pick.
All right. So when we look at Xfinity series, who do we have for our final four?
We got Sam Mayer, Justin Allgaier, John Hunter Nemechek, and Cole Custer. 2 Chevys, a Toyota, and a Ford.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna go with the guy that's got the momentum right now, and I'm gonna take Justin Allgaier. I see that look, and you're pissed at me, but I took him.
I know. So I'm looking at, I
wanted to pick him too, so.
God,
I get to go last for Cup, so chill out.
You suck. Well, I gotta take the low hanging fruit. I'm gonna go Nemechek.
Jesus Christ. Get out of here.
Well, with those 2 picks, I think I'm picking the pace car.
Well, hey, that's not a solid pick, especially after Martinsville.
DNF. Yeah, no kidding.
I guess I didn't think I'd be in this spot, but I guess I'm gonna pick Sam Mayer.
He's not a bad pick. He's been having a lot of good runs as of late. He's showing that he can win on pretty much any type of track too. So
the only reason I'm picking him is because we got the Wisconsin roots. So
Yep,
from Wisconsin.
Yep.
And Junior Motorsports will have that thing wicked up. So
little background here. Xfinity did race at
I
Phoenix
didn't
earlier
even
this
look
year.
at that. I got it pulled up and I didn't even look at it. Shoot. Didn't do my due diligence.
Why is this not working for me? This doesn't want to work for me. What the heck? There it goes. Sammy Smith was your winner there earlier this year. If we're doing playoff picks, Nemechek was 6th. Smear was 11th.
Ooh, Cal Allgaier, P36 in the spring. Had to scroll a couple times to find him.
Yeah, I was about saying I'm missing a guy here.
I ain't worried about it.
Oh, Custer, he was 12th.
P36, and then next to his name it says accident.
So fluke is what it comes down to.
Where was Mayer?
P30.
11th. He was 11th.
All right. We got a baseline, so we're not going to show up there.
At the end of the day, they're all racing for second because we got the 11 car for College Racing running that race too. So,
well, hey, these are championship picks. We're not doing race picks. So,
well, race pick is the number 11 with the Western Flooring Racing number 11 for Derek Kraus. So, I don't know if anyone's figured this out yet, but we're rooting for DK.
Yeah, the guy that's got the bang door up above his left shoulder there.
Yeah. So that's the race pick. But
well,
all right, run it backwards. Now we're going to the Cup Series, the big dogs.
I have all the race previews picked up, or all the old races pulled up from last year and then this year. But honestly, I don't need to look at it. I picked him as my champion. He's in it. He's there, and he's going to do it. Kyle Larson.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
at a predicament here. I can either stick with my championship pick here, or I can go with what my heart wants out of it.
Look, the old adage always says, follow your heart.
Mhm. If you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it's not.
Screw it. Oh, now you're really putting me in predicament here. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. I gotta go with my man, Ryan Blaney. He gonna win it. Win it all.
All right. The final two.
The guy that doesn't have his championship pick in it. So you've got no quarrels to go with. You got a free pick here.
I know. I, uh, you guys left me with the guy that everyone picked to be in the final four. I'm going to take William Byron. Everyone picked him to be there.
Yep.
Martinsville was a fluke.
I picked
He
him as
didn't
my
show up
champion.
Yep. So
I'm hedging my bets. I had my playoff pick anyways. So
we're gonna go back. We're gonna revisit this. So early in the podcast, when we got this whole thing started, we picked our final four. We're gonna go back and say so.
Next week,
Cam and I.
Next week on next week's episode, sorry to cut you off. Not professional, but next week I say we do probably one segment championship review headlines. We should go back and we should spend a segment next week talking fantasy and picks.
yeah.
Well, so I'm not going to say names. If you want to know who it was, you have to go back and watch. I was 2 for 4. Cam, you were 2 for 4. Van Grohl was 1 for 4. We'll leave it at that as a teaser for next week. So 250s and a 25%.
Yeah, and one of those 50s, their champion is out too.
Right here.
We all had honestly the one that's looking the best here was Cam with his picks. He's kind of the most solid one out of all of us. Got 50% of the final four and his champion still in it.
Yeah, I don't know how the Christ that happened. So we'll leave that as a teaser for next week. If you want to know, you got to go back and watch the episodes and see who ended up where.
And as we kind of wrap up that Cup Series conversation, obviously kind of a big weekend. We're looking at the Stuart Haas camp. Eric Almirola, last full-time race with Stuart Haas. And we're also looking at the old savvy vet, Kevin Harvick, hanging it up after this race. So one final time for those boys.
You see Harvick's paint scheme for this weekend?
Got his name on the door, yep.
Yeah.
On the quarter, yeah.
I think that's a diecast car that I'm buying here in the future.
Yeah, it's the Busch Light look, but it says instead of saying Busch Light, it says Harvick. It's the mountains, it's that iconic
The light blue,
light blue and silver and the Rockies and all this stuff to go with it. So yeah, again, a pretty cool look, and he's not going anywhere. He'll be around, and I think he'll still be around the racetrack, and
he's in the booth for Fox next year.
Yeah, he'll still have a lot to do with the production of racing and NASCAR and all that to go with it. So obviously he's got his hand in the cars tour as well. So I think we're going to see him doing a little bit more of what we like to see, the short track racing, especially following his son Keelan.
Yeah.
So
it's a sharp looking car.
He's been racing legends and kind of climbing his way up the ranks that way. So obviously he'll be around short tracks a little bit more with his son, but still around the Cup scene that he won't be a stranger, to say the least. So old closer.
There's going to be, my guess would be there's going to be probably a Jimmy Johnson leg scene there. He's probably going to have a big old cooler or some Busch Lights to enjoy at the track.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Well, as we wrap this thing up, any final thoughts?
Well, do we I want to throw a little discussion out here, but that could also circle into another topic here real quick. Does the champion win the race?
No.
No? Okay,
Yep.
so that introduces our topic. Race picks. Who are we taking for our race picks here?
Well, I just closed out all my data.
We have it on the spreadsheet. I mean, what more do you want out of this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like can a guy help the helpless?
Good God. And you know what? Just because of that, I'm flipping the order here because we're going to stick with the snake draft pick here. And since Kellen was last pick for Cup, we're going to let him have first pick at race picks. And since you're a slacker,
I'm gonna go out on a limb a little bit here. I'm stuck between two. And they are both non-playoff drivers.
well, I would hope they're non-playoff drivers.
Uh, you know who I think's gonna show up? I'm gonna take the 22 of Joey Logano.
Ooh.
As much as it's
He
just
won he won last year.
as much as it just stabs me right in the heart to pick him, I think he's gonna show up. Just it's right, right in the soul. It hurts me to do that, but I'm gonna have to take the guy. And that's not even looking at last year. I'm just taking him because I know he's decent at Phoenix.
Yeah.
So
Oh man. Do I want to be that guy? I don't know. I I think the streak of champions winning the race is still going to continue. Personally, I think it ends up being that some of the non-playoff guys kind of don't get involved with championship battles type of thing. They kind of let the guys go at a little bit. So I'm going to say your champ is your race winner, and by that, I'm going to go Blaney again as your race winner.
gotta give himself that warm fuzzy feeling in the off season, I suppose. I get
Tell
it.
you what, I'm gonna have a hell of a celebration on Monday if he pulls it off. I may not go to work on Monday.
No God.
So I thought, okay. So you're saying if you didn't think a champion was going to win it, this is what the segment was?
Yeah. Do you think the champion is going to be the race winner? Just in past years, it typically has been the race winner has been the champion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at one thing, but I'm looking at some scary results that Blaney's been. It's not good. It is not good. Last year at at Phoenix, he was like P4 and P2.
Get the shit out of here.
Yeah. And then I was just gonna look at.
Well, that's an
I'm not
interesting
even gonna think about it. Yeah. When you're bad fast and you're running up front all day, Kyle Larson's gonna get it done.
Yeah, so I think two of us are going to think that the champs are going to win it. We got one that thinks no. The streak gets broken this year as far as winners being champions.
Yeah, I'm gonna say so. Yeah.
All right. Keep an eye on that. That's a storyline kind of its own right too. It's always kind of interesting. You used to see at Homestead a lot where guys were wrapping up the championship and you had the race winner there too, and you had kind of two different celebrations going on there. And it's been a long while since we've seen one of those on the cup scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, final thoughts. What do we got?
Great week of racing. Get your butt in the couch and turn that TV on. Get those mixed drinks going. Get some feel good food. You're not gonna want to go anywhere.
Help.
Oh, we're every every lap on the track matters the most because we're now racing for titles. It's those few laps of practice you get mean so much more now that we're racing for a title. It's if you unload and you're bad, you're now behind the 8 ball when you're racing for a title. So you got to unload with a piece that you know is going to be a rocket ship. So and that's World of Outlaws sprint cars, that's World of Outlaws late models, that's trucks, Xfinity Cup Series. It's
ASA
top to bottom.
cars.
It's we are splitting hairs now to win titles. So and those guys that do, they get to call themselves the title, and you can't take that away from them. So that's a pretty awesome deal. So
Yeah, and I think you guys both hit it on the head. Get yourself some drinks, some good food, and there ain't nothing better than plopping your hind end on the couch for a day. Actually, 2 days, 3 days.
Four.
Four.
Thursday through Sunday.
Tonight. Yep.
Yeah. Obviously be dialed in and tuned into all this racing this weekend. Like you guys said, big trophies and big checks this weekend, and the slightest error or the slightest mistake can cost you a championship and some big money. So obviously it's going to be a lot of good racing. And as for this episode, hey, I think the pit crew nailed it. We definitely didn't blow a championship. Might even gained a few spots on pit road. So I think we've done our part. We've had a heck of an episode, covered a lot. As always, don't forget, drop us a like, comment your thoughts, anything on the RCR, Martinsville, and any of your race winners that you got for this weekend. Drop them in the comments. We'd love to debate you. And then turn on that bell. Every time we post something, get notified right away. Kellen does a great job posting some shorts and just trying to drop racing content whenever we can. So, boys, I think we nailed it. Let's go get ourselves a championship this weekend, and we'll catch you next week.